going to be playing 112 days of romancing everyone in Stardew Valley. See, unlike a regular 100 days playthrough where the focus is on fixing the town, I'm fixing the people in it. My goals for this series is to get maximum hearts with every single villager in the valley, meaning I need to marry every marriage candidate, get them all to 14 hearts, and max out 10 hearts with the rest of the village. But like always, there's a catch. I've set the challenge that I can only give each villager one of their loved gifts. No liked gifts, no universal loves, only the villager's fondest items, making these next 112 days way more challenging than I thought they would be. So let's dive in. We started our playthrough on the forest farm, grabbed our 15 parsnips and got to planting. Even though we don't have a lot of farming space, the forest farm has an abundance of forageables, which we will need a lot of if we want to win over the hearts of Sandy, George, and Krobus. I chopped wood, built our first chest, then we were off into town to meet our future friends. I ran into my favorite Yeti man Linus, got a warm welcome from Alex, Gus, Abby, Marnie, and sadly, Pierre, who, yes, we have to become friends with too. But we weren't here for formalities, we were here for potatoes, which we purchased 10 of. On the way back home, we met Sam, Leah, and then got the warmest welcome from my baby girl, Haley. I foraged for some spring onions for energy, then planted down our potatoes. I went back into the valley to look for mixed seeds, and then found a flute made of bones. That is horrifying. I handed that off to Gunther, who paid me 250 gold to keep it a secret. We met Elliot being melodramatic, Penny and Maru having a date, Shane and Pam drinking their sorrows away, broke into George and Evelyn's house, ran into Sebastian on a ciggy break, and had our first awkward conversation with Clint, meaning as the night set on our first day, we had met around half the villagers. We awoke to a note from Willie telling us to meet him at the beach. Willie, my friend, you don't have to ask me twice. And down at the beach, Willie handed us a bamboo rod in the hopes to get us into fishing. Back in town, we met the local doctor, the local MILF, and the local terrible father. At some point in the day, I decided to go clay farming, which means now is a good time to mention that we're actually playing on legacy RNG. Not that it matters, because I got nothing from the clay farming anyways. I spent the rest of the day fishing because we need lots of money. See, while our main goals for this playthrough is getting the maximum amount of hearts with every NPC, to do that, we need to unlock the community center. So while we need to gather every single loved gift for a villager, we also have to finish every bundle. So we fished the day away in the mountains before selling our haul and ending the day with a nice top up of dosh. The next morning we were greeted with that sweet, sweet early game rain, which meant we could focus on more important things than watering our crops, like spending hours fishing for catfish, even though we're only level 2 fishing. Surely with a bamboo rod, there's no way in hell we're actually gonna catch one. Sadly, we awoke to a visit from Clint on day 4, who gave us the recipe for furnaces. I chopped down trees, giving us many more pieces of wood for 2 chests. We placed one by Leah's to store any river fish we caught. I then met Caroline and agonized over which seeds I wanted to buy for the season. See, while I need cauliflower, potatoes, and green beans for the community center, I also need a lot of parsnips for Pam, her favorite gift. On top of that, I wanted to make lots of money over the next few weeks so I could buy strawberries at the egg festival. They were Maru and Demetrius's favorite gift, and both of their birthdays were in summer. So after much deliberation, I eventually decided on purchasing 1 green bean, 1 cauliflower, 20 tulips for Evelyn, and 10 potato seeds. Now you might be wondering, Nino, how the hell are you keeping track of all this? Well, let me introduce you to the sheet. A spreadsheet I whipped up just for this playthrough, which lists every villager's loved gift, what season that gift is available in, the villagers' birthdays, and all our objectives for each season. This is our Bible, and without this, I'd be screwed. I spent a lot of the day looking for Vince and finally found him. We then gave a leak to George to complete the How to Win Friends quest, and with that, we actually gave our first love gift to a villager, and look how happy it made him. Day 5, we woke up the best way possible as we got a kitty cat from Marnie, which I named after my real life kitty cat, Ninja. Our 15 parsnips were ready, so I put some some aside for Pam. I didn't think it was a good use of my time to spend all of my spring watering the mass amount of crops I wanted to plant, so I decided to start on a sprinkler layout. I've never done this pattern before because I always hated using the normal sprinklers, so it took me a while to figure out, but once I got it down, I placed down flooring to indicate where all the sprinklers will go. I then planted the crops we purchased yesterday, except the tulips, as I'll be planting those in the second half of the season. I headed down to the traveling cart for the first time and brought a hot pepper to give to Lewis, as his birthday was just in a few days. I then spent the rest of the night trying to clay farm and got absolutely nothing, which I actually think is Yoba's way of telling me to grind for my money instead of just taking the easy way out. As I entered town the next morning, I found Lewis pondering about the old times by the rundown community center. After listening to this old man yell at clouds, I decided to explore the community center and found a strange scroll with a language on it I couldn't understand. After that, we were off to the mines for the very first time, where another old man was waiting for us. Seriously, where are they all coming from? At least this one was nice enough to give us a sword. We only managed to get to level 5 today, but we collected some geodes and around 20 copper ore. Our potatoes were ready today, and the wizard sent a letter to me asking to come visit. So we made our way down, and I told him all about the scroll I had read in the community center. He told me to drink this random potion he was brewing up, and yeah, he drugged me. He gave me drugs. After flying high with Yoba, I decided to go for a wander and actually found Lewis, who greeted me by sniffing me. I gave him the hot pepper for his birthday, and he was oh so grateful. So grateful, in fact, that this one gift got us 3 hearts with Lewis. I sold the potatoes to Pierre and purchased some kale to grow for Alex's gift, salmon dinner. Technically, we won't be able to make salmon dinner till like fall, but we need to start growing the kale now, otherwise we won't be able to give Alex anything till next spring. After our little morning trip with the wizard, we could now magically read the scroll in the community center, meaning we could complete the spring foraging bundle for our first community center reward, spring seeds. I made my way back to Pierre's, spent all my money on parsnips, Pam, you will be mine, and planted all of my crop seeds with some fertilizers. We saw the night off in the mines collecting copper. In the morning, Lewis sent us a recipe for spaghetti, which is actually one of Robin's loved gifts, which is a good cue to mention something very important for this series. Some of the villagers' gifts can only be unlocked when you have a certain level of hearts with other villagers. For example, Alex's loved gift is salmon dinner, which can only be crafted after you get Gus to 3 hearts. We spent the day doing odd farm jobs here and there.
Come on, what is that, Clint? Come on, pull through for me here, Clint. Clint, what are we doing here? Clint, what are we doing here? Okay, that was just absolutely useless.
And then for some god no reason why, I decided to go clay farming again. Oh, surely it has to work this time. Why do I keep trying this? Oh well, at least we have fishing. Day 9 is when I actually started to lock in, because we weren't doing so great so far. No money, no levels, no bitches. We had a steady flow of Pam's parsnips going at this point, then dropped off some fish and a parsnip to the community center. Demetrius asked me to kill 2 crabs in the cave, so I thought there was a good opportunity to get on his good side until I completely forgot to do it. I sold the parsnips, fished up in the mountains, as we needed money, and I was doing, well, about as good as Linus. Then, with our pockets filled with slimy fish, we made our way to Willie's to sell them and purchase a brand new rod, till I realized Willie isn't working today. We sold the fish at home anyways and spent more time in the mines, making it to level 15 and collecting copper, quartz, and earth crystals to end the day. Well, luckily, Willie was in his shop the next day, so I could actually purchase the fiberglass rod. We spent most of the day running between fishing and selling the fish, and as I was heading up to my fishing spot, I was interrupted by George telling me that there were raccoons looking through his trash and asked me if I could go have a look. I decided, yeah, I would help the old man out, and found out it was actually a different furry creature, Linus. Linus had said he'd found a lot of hot food in the trash cans and asked me not to tell anyone he was going through them. I said, yeah, you can just carry on as is. I mean, it's not my trash, who cares? And as I was leaving, I noticed Gus come out and offer Linus a fresh batch of zucchini fritters, as he said he doesn't want anyone in the valley to go hungry. How sweet. At the community center, I dropped off a potato, then went to Pierre's to sell the rest, and then really came to our first big decision of the series. Do I buy the backpack upgrade or save my money? I sat there for way too long mulling it over in my head. If I buy the backpack upgrade, I can catch more fish, but it's only 2 days till the egg festival, and we really needed those strawberries for Demetrius and Maru. I decided not to buy it. Big shocker, we then fished for the rest of the day, dropped off a sardine at the community center, and hit level 2 farming, meaning we had unlocked sprinklers. The next day I fished some more. I promise you, we will get to romancing everyone soon. We just have to do a lot of the groundwork beforehand. And it was all in preparation for day 13, Egg Festival Day. We had iron from treasure chests we had fished up smelting overnight, which meant we could craft our first sprinkler and place that into the ground. We harvested some of the kale for Alex's gift, sold some potatoes, then we were off to the Egg Festival. All our hard work paid off as we purchased 40 strawberry seeds. So if you thought I was struggling with energy beforehand, oh boy, just wait. I talked to everyone at the festival before absolutely destroying Maru and Sam in the Egg Festival. Suck it, nerds. Sure, I want them to love me, but there's no friends in an egg hunt. When we got home, we planted the strawberries and expanded some of our farm space. Overnight, I reached level 3 farming, which unlocks speed grow. Perfect to place on the strawberries so we can get an extra harvest before the end of spring. On our second Sunday, the traveling cart had a piece of wool for us, which we purchased, as Emily's birthday is in 13 days, and my loony queen loves a piece of wool. All the deforesting we'd done really came in handy, as we had enough wood to unlock the bridge at the beach. Usually, you can get some decent beach forageables by the tide pools, and wow, 1 piece of coral. Great. I was actually a bit down to the dumps today, as it was my baby girl Haley's birthday and I didn't have a present for her. The main gifts I wanted for Haley this run were coconuts and sunflowers, meaning we either needed to spend 42,000 gold on unlocking the bus or commit to buying 32 sunflowers in summer. Since both of those are just insanely expensive, I spent the night fishing again. The past few days we ended up fishing a heap of iron from the sea, meaning our sprinkler collection was coming along nicely. Not that it mattered, because today was a rainy day. We harvested the parsnips, meaning we now had enough gifts to get Pam to 8 hearts. I had a sort of baseline for the amount of gifts I had to get for each villager. I set myself the goal of getting around 28 to 32 loved gifts for each villager, as that should, and I repeat, should get us to full hearts with the leeway of relationship deterioration. Back at the farm, we expanded our crop field and got Evelyn's tulips planted, alongside extra cauliflower and our spring seeds. I purchased an orange sapling because Gus loves oranges, so we needed to get a tree planted so they bloom in time for summer. And remember, we need Gus's love if we want to get that salmon dinner recipe. I also purchased some parsnips, as we need 2 more gold quality crops to finish the quality crops bundle. Then dropped off a cauliflower to the community center and went fishing again. We spent the morning of day 16 watering a monstrous field of crops. We harvested a green bean and dropped that off at the community center, finishing the spring crops bundle, giving us 10 extra speed grow. Back at Pierre's, I was rudely interrupted by Morris, who came storming into Pierre's, offering everyone 50% discounts at Jojamart. Pierre seemed heartbroken that all his customers left, and I'll tell you what, Pierre, I just don't care. I want 10 speed grow, please. We sprinkled the speed grow on the strawberries, then started to smelt refined quartz for future quality sprinklers. Clint broke open some geodes, and I donated the stones to Gunther, who gave me 9 melon seeds in return, which is a great help for summer. I spent the rest of the days doing small chores, like picking up Robin's axe, collecting forageables to sell, and smelting some bars. Day 17, and oh my god, thank you, Ober, it's raining today. Seeing a prime opportunity to do something other than watering my crops, I prepped my backpack full of yummy goods and headed down into the mines. We made it down to level 20 before I realized I had missed something reasonably important.
Wait, what the fuck? When did I get an ancient seed? Okay. I'll take it.
To be completely safe, I put the ancient seed in the chest for safety before going back to the mines. In my adventures, I found a prismatic shirt, which I threw away because I thought it was ugly, made it to level 35, and ended the day with a decent haul of copper, quartz, and coal. Spring 18 meant that it was a special day for my favorite blonde bombshell. That's right. It's Pam's birthday. We grabbed one of the 34 Pam parsnips we had and caught her half passed out on the couch. Boy, was she stoked to see me. We gave our gift, then dropped off an earth crystal and quartz at the geologist bundle, then a cave carrot and red mushroom to the exotic foraging bundle. At Gunther's, we traded an ancient seed fossil for an actual ancient seed, and Gunther, you just had these? Then dropped Robin's axe off to her. While I was in the mountains, I fished up this book called Jewel of the Sea, which now gives me the chance to catch fish roe in treasure chests. The next morning, we had parsnips to harvest. I then visited the traveling cart where we purchased an extra sprinkler along with the duck egg for the animal bundle. I also realized I forgot to uninstall a mod where you marry Hat Mouse, so that was a bit of trauma hitting me in the face again. In town, I picked up a quest from Demetrius who wanted a sardine. Disgusting. Then dropped off 5 golden parsnips to the quality crop bundle, along with the duck egg. Back at the farm, I realized I'd been saving this piece of wool for Emily, but since I wanted to go to the mines later, I decided I could just use the wool for the community center and grab Emily a few crystals from the mines. I then ended up buying more kale seeds for Alex, gave Jody a cauliflower she wanted for dinner, before finally making it to the mines. We finally made it to level 40, meaning we could now collect iron, and my gamble for the crystals paid off as we found a jade for Emily. We finished the night on level 45 before heading home. On spring 20th, we spent half the day watering our 20,000 crops. Dear God, I need sprinklers. So to fix this, I built my second furnace and got to smelting the iron we collected yesterday. In town, I purchased Shane a bear for his birthday, and with that, we were at 3 hearts with 3 different villages. The rest of the day was really just more admin work. I cut down trees for wood and maple seeds, dropped off a moral for the exotic foraging bundle, and went to the mines for more iron, where we got a lucky surprise. Mallet! You're all done now, losers! The next morning, we awoke to a beautiful sight, as our beloved strawberries and tulips were grown. With all this harvesting, it meant we were close to ticking off all the spring crops we needed to grow as gifts. We smelted more iron, then got a new surprise as the traveling cart had an orange for us, which I happily purchased for Gus's upcoming birthday. Up at the mines, we found lots of iron, some frozen tears for Sebi, and an amethyst for Abigail. I also got this gold bar, which I have no idea where it came from.
Wait, where the fuck did I get this gold bar from? We'll just grab that. We'll fill out a few things as we go.
And after a VAR review, it seems like I got it from a dust sprite. How the hell did that little thing carry an entire golden bar? Well, we dropped that off at the geologist bundle anyway, along with bat wings, and finished the day by making more sprinklers. Overnight, we hit level 5 farming and decided to go with the tiller profession. My goodness, look at this beautiful meadow of spring seeds. We had leeks for George, daffodils for Sandy, and horseradish for Krobus. And after that nice collection, I made my way into town to purchase more tulips for Evelyn and saw that Sebastian had put up a request for a green bean to throw at a mountain. Sure, Sebi, whatever gets the angst out, I guessed. I thought I had sold all my green beans, but remembered I actually had one growing on the farm. At the museum, I dropped off lots of artifacts, and Gunther was kind enough to give me some starfruit seeds in return. I popped down some more sprinklers before giving the green bean to our favorite terminally online emo. The next day, we were invited to the flower dance, and a horrifying idea dawned on me.
Do I have to dance with fucking Shane?
At this point, I was only at level 3 foraging, and since I really wanted to start making tappers, I just spent the day chopping down trees to get to level 4. And you won't believe it, we fished pushed for some more money. The hustle just never ends. And while I had received that lovely letter asking me to come join the village at the flower dance, I completely forgot about it. Instead, today I danced with the slimes as we pushed further into the mines. Bro will do anything except for romance his targets. We managed to collect everything we needed to finish the blacksmith bundle, which gave us a very needed extra furnace, then dropped off items at the crab pot bundle and a winter root from the mines at the winter foraging bundle. Demetrius popped over to see us in the morning and asked to set up a research center on our farm. I decided to go with having a bat cave, a change from my usual mushroom loving self, because many of the villagers love fruits that you can't get till later in the game. After harvesting more strawberries and kale, I felt in a giving mood, so I dropped some presents around to George, Maru, and Pam, then put a frozen geode and chub in the research bundle. After that, I made the biggest commitment of my life. I purchased the first backpack upgrade. A hit to the wallet, but one I desperately needed. We grabbed some copper, made some tappers, and got those placed down. I also got level 6 farming, unlocking quality sprinklers, but don't get your hopes up because we won't be making those for a really long time. The next day, the traveling cart actually had a lot of community center items we could use. I spent like 10 minutes sitting here just debating if I should buy the purple mushroom for 1,000 gold, because I mean, come on, that's an obscene price. Who would buy that? I did. I bought it. And this won't be my final dumb decision in this playthrough. It's also Pierre's birthday today, but we had nothing for him because in the most typical Pierre fashion possible, this loveless shell of a man only has one loved gift in this game, and it's fried calamari. One of the hardest gifts to get in our first year, as we can only get squid in winter. It's like he tries to be difficult. I dropped our expensive mushrooms at the community center and fish to fill the mushroom-shaped hole in my wallet. We did have enough money to build a chicken coop, however, and oh, I have 38 gold, bro. At least we made 4K from fishing that night, so we take the wins where we can. On Emily's birthday, our cauliflowers had finally grown. Our fruit cave had already paid off as it produced an apricot and spiceberry, which I promptly dropped off at the summer foraging and artisanal bundle. I chipped away at the mines, getting down to level 55. Along the way, I collected solar essence, which I dropped off at the adventurers bundle to complete that. Completing the bundle did unlock the vault, which is a big goal for this year, as both coconuts and cactus can be found in the desert, and they're loved gifts for Haley and Linus. Sandy also lives in Calico, and I want to befriend her ASAP for no other reason than just, well, I really like Sandy. I gave a frozen tear to Sebastian and finally gave Emily her jade. Don't sweat it, Em. It was no hassle at all. The crickets were chirping and the morning air was heating up as we awoke to our final day of spring. The last batch of tulips for Evelyn were finished, meaning we had checked off another spring goal. We had collected all the love gifts for the season. Something was in the air today as the traveling cart had another ton of community center items for us. Since it was our final day of the month, I was reluctant to spend too much money as we had a lot of seeds to buy in summer, but I decided to take a risk and purchased goat cheese, a duck feather, and a pomegranate that I then dropped all off at the community center. I spent the rest of the day fishing for money because summer would easily be the most challenging season we would face. Not only are there 9 birthdays, but to get close to our goals, we would need to grow a ton of crops. Blueberries, corn, hot peppers, melons, tomatoes, wheat, red cabbage, 27 poppies for Penny, 27 sunflowers for Haley, 27 summer spangles for Caroline, 50 hot peppers for Lewis and Shane, 27 grapes for Vince, 27 oranges for Gus, 5 gold star corns, 5 gold star melons, upgrade our coop, build a barn, upgrade the farmhouse, and catch all these fish just to have a chance at completing this challenge. So yeah, we need money. As the summer sun baked away, we got to work. The farm was looking worse for wear, so I cleared out an area for crops. Then popped into Pierre's to purchase our summer seeds. I ended up getting 27 hot pepper seeds, 1 tomato, 20 blueberries, 5 corn, 20 summer spangles, and 10 poppy seeds just to start with, because we'll be back for more later. I planted these down in my monstrosity of a farm, chucked some fertilizer over the top, then went back to purchase more blueberries and finished off the day by getting some copper. I have no idea why I did that last part. Like seriously, I must have been yearning for the mines, because the next day I was back, scraping through to level 60 where I got the crystal dagger. While running back to town, I actually found a grape and a sweet pea, meaning we finished off the summer foraging bundle. I sold the summer seeds we got from the foraging bundle and then wanted to go wood chopping in Cindersap. Along the way, I ran into Shane, who was having a late night drink by himself down at the pier. I'd been in town for almost a month now and still felt like I didn't really know anyone. So when he invited me to share a cold one with him, I took him up on his offer. Before even having my first sip, Shane started opening up to me, telling me he felt like no matter what, he can't succeed in life and was just stuck in a miserable abyss that he couldn't climb out of. Feeling like this conversation was getting pretty heavy and knowing I'm bad at this sort of stuff, I chugged down my beer at lightning speed. But then Shane called it a night. It was at least nice to talk to someone. We began the next day with a letter from Lewis asking us to help find his lucky purple shorts. All right, Lewis, you freak. After doing a few odd chores here and there, I purchased 2 chickens from Marnie, who I named Cheesy and Trisha Pater because Patus didn't fit in the name. I dropped the wood and stone we collected yesterday at the construction bundle, then remembered that living animals actually need to eat, so I went back to Marnie's to purchase hay. I headed down to the beach to do some fishing, then popped in to see my old friend Willie. He told me business had been down lately, but there was an old friend behind a locked door that had seen better days. Willie, did you kidnap Lewis? I dropped off all the fish we collected at their bundles and gave Marnie a flounder she had asked for, then saw the lovely summer night out by fishing with Willie on the docks. The chests I placed down yesterday were in the way of my orange tree growing. My organization skills were apparently shining once again, so I did a small reshuffle before heading to the mines for copper. Somewhere down the mines, I collected this cherry bomb, which I used to open up the passage to the dwarf, meaning we had unlocked a new friend. It was also Jas's birthday today, but sadly, I didn't have any gifts for Jas, as Fairy Rose is only available in autumn, and she loves Fairy Rose. Deep in the mines, a ghost I killed dropped off a ghost fish, which I don't know where the ghost was hiding that, but I dropped the ghost fish off at the community center along with an aquamarine and then honk-shooed for the night. In my dreams, I leveled up to level 5 mining and learnt to become a geologist, as I needed a lot more crystals. Down at the traveling cart, we got a massive pull, the illustrious red cabbage seed. This was such a huge get, as this was the only way you can get a red cabbage seed in year 1, putting us one step closer to completing the community center. I planted the cabbage seed down, then turned all the copper and iron we got yesterday into sprinklers to extend our farm. Our working day was interrupted by the iconic whistle of a Stardew Valley train, so I went up by the bathhouse to investigate. We got a nice haul of copper and stone, which reminded me of something I try to forget. Something smelly and gross. Oh my god, Clint, who I then visited to upgrade my pickaxe. Down at the beach, our crab pot fished us up a cockle. And I then spent the rest of the day fishing for a tilapia for the ocean fish bundle before realizing that you couldn't catch them past 2 p.m. So instead, I dropped a cockle and sea urchin off at the community center and went fishing for sturgeon, which I realized you couldn't catch past 7 p.m. Okay, well, I guess I'll just fish for the love of the game then. I also completely forgot about the tappers we had and had a great haul of oak resin, which I'll be turning into kegs. The next morning, our hot peppers had grown, giving us gifts for Lewis and Shane. Cheesy and Trisha Pater pooped out some fresh eggs, and at the beach, our crab pot gave us Larry lobster. And after fishing for literally hours, we finally caught a tilapia. Larry lobster finished the crab pot bundle, which gave us well, 3 more crab pots. And I dropped a hot pepper and oak resin to the summer crops and exotic foraging bundle before popping up to the mountains for a sturgeon. While up here, I gave a strawberry to Maru and Demetrius before dropping the sturgeon off at the community center to finish the lakefish bundle. And oh my god, more community center stuff, because I then grabbed some maple syrup, which finished the exotic foraging bundle. All this running around had exhausted me, so I dropped by the saloon for a drink and gave Leah a salad and Pam a parsnip. I purchased a Mackie roll from Gus as we needed it for the chef bundle, and then I went to the mines. Except I forgot my pickaxe was with Clint. Oh well, I killed some more bugs, and Gil was so impressed that he gave me one of their heads. Thanks, Gil. Clint had my pickaxe ready for me on day 35, so I traded it for my axe. We then dropped off a fossil to Gunther, a mushroom to the community center, then said hello to Robin and asked her to build me a barn. I hit the mines, and our new geologist skill came in handy as we grabbed a 2-for-1 deal on diamonds, then called it quits at level 70. The crab pots at the mountain gave us a snail for Vince, so we had our first gift ready for our favorite future orphan. What a beautiful day summer 8 was, as it's Gus's birthday. And the universe honestly must have heard us say that, because the fruit cave gave us an orange. I'd also heard through the grapevine that you can catch a wood skip on the forest farm. So instead of waiting for my axe to upgrade, I tried to fish for it, but we didn't get it. After that disappointment, I built our first mayo machine and popped a preserves jar next to it, then harvested our first batch of poppies for Penny. I kept 1 poppy for the chef's bundle, then purchased wheat seeds that we could grow for the fodder bundle. I wished Gus a happy birthday and gave him his special birthday orange. Men love citrus fruit. I then went back to try again for the wood skip and once again got nothing. The morning after, I awoke to a letter from Gus, who finally sent us the salmon dinner recipe. Success!
We harvested another round of hot peppers, this time for Shane along with summer spangles for Caroline.
At Piers, I purchased a top-up of poppy and spangle seeds as we didn't quite have enough for all the presents we needed. I ran back, planted them, then ran all the way back to Clint's as our copper axe was ready. Thank God too, because I really needed that wood skip from the secret forest. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, we collected some hardwood with our new axe anyways, finished off the construction bundle, and also somewhere along the way, I got a radish? Where did I get a radish from? The next morning, Lewis was kind enough to invite us to the Luau, which is amazing news because this is our chance to get hearts up with everyone, as a good enough gift in the Luau can earn 120 friendship points with the entire valley. In the excitement of an invite, I also realized it was Maru's birthday, so I grabbed one of the sweet strawberries for our sweet scientist and went to see her. While I was there, we went back down the mines where we had quite a successful trip.
We made it down to level 90 and even picked up a Yeti tooth and Omni geodes for Clint.
We dropped off a red quartz to the boiler room bundle, completing that. And with that, we had finished our first room in the community center. There was no time to celebrate, however, as it was almost 2 a.m. and we had a luau to go to tomorrow. Overnight, the Junimos fixed the mine carts, which is going to be a massive time saver for us.
We processed all the goodies we picked up at the mines yesterday and had a batch of jelly finish up.
I decided to take a golden cauliflower with me to the luau, and on the way, I dropped the jelly off at the community center. When I arrived, the luau was popping off. My gorgeous girl was glistening in the summer sun, the music was thumping, the bears were flowing, and Emily, God damn, Emily. I made sure to say hi to everyone before dropping my collie off in the pot, and to little surprise, the governor loved my soup, saying it's the best soup he's ever had. Since the soup was so out of this world good, we now had at least 1 heart with most of the town. And after that, the festivities wound down for the day. We had more hot peppers ready on day 41, and thank God we can sell these ones. We also had a tomato and wheat ready to harvest for the community center. We sold all our hot peppers at Piers, went to leave, and then decided, you know what, I want to spoil Haley. So I went back in and purchased some sunflower seeds. After dropping the tomato off at the community center, I processed geodes at Clint's, dropped the minerals to Gunther, then hit the river for fishing. We got the sunfish, which was the last fish we actually needed in summer. At the traveling cart, I purchased a peach for the Artisan bundle, and get this, a complete complete breakfast for Alex, whose birthday is literally tomorrow. Am I just insanely lucky, or is it a thing that the game gives you the gifts just before the villager's birthday? After that, we did so many chores today. I purchased more hay for the fodder bundle, dropped a bunch off at the community center, cleared the farm, picked up oak resin, dropped that off at the community center, then spent the rest of the night, yep, you guessed it, fishing for wood skips. Men will do anything but upgrade their axe. It's Alex's birthday today, which means it's a stormy day. Our melons were ripe and we kept 3 gold melons for the quality crops bundle. At the beach, we collected some forage before meeting the old mariner, who we'll be seeing a lot more of later on. While down here, I grabbed a red snapper, then headed up to town to wish Alex a happy birthday and give him a complete breakfast to start his day. I dropped off an orange, melon, and red snapper at the community center, finishing off the beach fish bundle, giving us 5 beach totems. I used one right away and sold all the beach forageables for some extra cash, as I wanted money for a boatload of speed grow to place on my blueberries. Then I remembered, oh, I actually have a barn, but I didn't have a silo to store my hay. We had everything we needed for a silo except for one ingredient, clay, which means that's right, we're back to attempting to clay farm, and yet again, we got nothing. On day 42, the world awoke to a deep green haze blanketing the valley, and luckily, my blueberries were done. Yes, today was the green rain, my favorite update to 1.6. We spent the morning collecting moss and fiddlehead ferns, then grabbed a fried egg from the traveling cart. I feel like there's a green eggs and ham joke somewhere in here. I then dropped off our red cabbage, fried egg, and blueberry to the community center, then popped in to see Abby and her parents taking shelter from the rain. Then the saloon to see everyone cowering away. Don't worry, Haley, I'll protect you. I had grabbed presents for all of them, but it was then that I realized you can't actually give presents during the green rain. Time and place, I get it. So I spent the rest of the day foraging and collecting resources. The next day, I realized we were halfway through summer and I had 0 lightning rods. So I started production on those. I then decided to check up on Maru, who, when I arrived, was working on some soil samples her dad collected yesterday during green rain. Maru asked if I wanted to help out, and I said, yeah, sure, why the hell not? I mean, it's really not like I'm doing anything else. While we were working away, she needed to pop out to grab something, so it was just Demetrius and I together, and that was awkward. He started talking about how Maru was his little girl and how he didn't want anything getting in the way of her future, and I think he was threatening me. Maru came back and I didn't say anything to her because, well, I like her and I don't want it to be awkward, but I don't think her dad likes me very much, which is fine, I guess, because I do have a lot of strawberries on the way. Moving on from the second worst first date I've ever had, I dropped some corn off at the community center, then went mining for clay, yet I came somehow still 1 piece short for the silo. Penny's poppies were ready for popping this morning, and our fruit cave produced yet another orange for Gus. Clay farming finally paid off as we got our final piece of clay, meaning we can finally go build our site. Oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, Robin's not home. So instead, I went down to Marnie's and oh my god, it's Tuesday! I keep forgetting. We went mining and hit level 100, getting our 2nd star drop, and I should have put something else as my favorite thing. Still not having a silo. I kept forgetting to feed my chickens. I'm so sorry, Trisha Pater. So after picking Caroline's gifts, I made my way up to Robin's and then purchased the silo. You will be hungry no more, my babies. Then ran down to Marnie's to purchase 2 cows. One I called Moo and the other Moo 2. Get it? Do you get it? It's a pun. I ran to Pierre's to buy more seeds and realized, oh, it's Wednesday. I purchased a pizza as a birthday lunch for Sam, then had Clint break open geodes and drop their contents off to Gunther, who gave me this nice beer, which I gave to Abby because it sort of reminded me of her in a strange way. I then decided to try finish the mines today, and excruciatingly, I got to level 118. At least I got a strange bun for Krobus. Heartbreakingly, since I still didn't have the keg recipe, I had to sell the blueberries we harvested on day 46. Trisha Pater pooped out a big royal egg for the animal bundle last night, and we made bank from our crops, purchased poppies for Penny, an apple sapling, and a pomegranate sapling for the fodder bundle and Elliot alike. When I was planting the trees, I got distracted by Robin working in the rain because, well, who wouldn't? And accidentally placed the pomegranate seed right in the middle of the walkway. At Gunther's, I dropped off a dwarf squirrel, purchased salads from Gus, and went to finish the mines. The salads ended up being completely pointless as we beat the mines quite easily, but hey, at least Leah will love them. I then finished off the night fishing, and then that night I actually got a meteor and perfectly unlocked the kegs, which is just great timing. I awoke to some freshly baked battery packs, along with a completed silo, so I started clearing all the grass on our farm. There was a lot of grass. Also, I found the meteor. We placed tappers on all our oak trees, then I swear to God, watch this moment of manifestation.
It'd be so cool if she gave me a truffle today.
Oh! This is a huge get. Yeah, sure, it's expensive, but it saves us like $16,000 in the long run. So I purchased the truffle and a sweet berry gem, then finished the chef bundle, which gave us pink cake for my Haley. It was then that I popped up to see Demetrius for his birthday and got one of the cringiest lines of dialogue I've seen in this game. After having to read, well, that, I hit the mines for 39 pieces of copper, and that meant that today we had our first keg, and soon we would have our first blueberry wine. The next morning, Demetrius sent me a fried mushroom recipe and asked if I could bring him over one of my melons. And the answer? No, I forgot. The sunflowers for my summer sweetheart were ready, and I dropped some off at the community center, ironically finishing her sister's dye bundle. As I was out doing a gift run, I ran into Sam and Sebastian having a bit of a jam session. They were starting a new band and asked for some genre suggestions. I told him he should go for an experimental noise rock sound, and they loved the idea. Now they just needed a drummer. After their band practice, I hung out with Sam for a bit, and he decided to make a snack. But in a classic Sam moment, he dropped an egg. Jody was furious. I mean, a little too mad even. I took the blame because there was no way she could be mad at me. I mean, come on, look at me. I then dropped the rest of the presents off to Seb, Pam, Gus, George, Evelyn, Maru, Caroline, and Abigail. Then went to see Gus at the saloon. After a few drinks, he started to open up to me that the saloon was in red, and the reason Pam was drinking them dry without paying her tab. Gus asked me if I could have a word with her about it, and like the good friend I am, I said I would. So I told Pam she needs to pay up, and after a bit of resistance, yeah, she got the message, and she said she was happy to. On day 49, the traveling cart had a cherry, so we finished off the Artisan bundle, giving us yet another keg. I got some wine brewing, then headed down to the beach and ran into Alex, who was enjoying the sun. We played a game of catch, which I wasn't very good at, but he told me all about how he had dreams of becoming Stardew Valley's first professional grid ball player, and while personally I doubted his ambitions, I told him I believed in him, because sometimes we all need someone to believe in us. I also spotted Sam and Vince enjoying some brotherly bonding on the beach and decided to go join them. As we were playing, Vince out of nowhere asked Sam, "Is Dad ever going to come home?" You see, Sam's father was out fighting the war against the Godoro Empire. A real shame for me, who needs to wait until year 2 to romance the guy. Sam told me he was worried his father would never get to come home, but he wasn't sure he could ever tell Vince that. I decided to comfort Sam and tell him that, it's okay to give Vince some hope, because kids should have hope. But after all that socialization, I got to do what I really wanted to do down at the beach: fish. Day 50 of our journey, the halfway mark, and it's pissing down. Our blueberries were ripe for the picking before I headed down to buy a milk pail, because I had completely forgot I needed that. We sold off any excess crops I had, dropped a plum off at the community center, then gifted the dwarf an omni geode for his birthday. Even though we were separated by language, our love of rocks brought us together. Finally, I could milk my cows and make my first batch of California cheese. And that's when I realized my second major mistake. I didn't have a brown chicken. Brown chickens create brown eggs. And a large brown egg is what I need for the community center. So I went down to Marnie's and brought a brown chicken this time, naming it Goat. In the middle of the night, we got a drop off from key claws and mystery boxes were now able to be found around town. The next morning, however, we had a little gift of our own as we harvested 5 gold star corn from our farm. We dropped those off to the community center, meaning we now only needed 5 golden melons to finish the quality crops bundle. I sold our leftover corn to Pierre, and forget about key claws, I decided to be Father Nino as I dropped off gifts all over town. And in case you had forgotten, we were still looking for that wood skip, and at this point I was desperate. But my goodness, 3 pikes and a lot of junk later, the farm pond provides, and I finally caught that wood skip. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, Grapevine. We dropped that off to the specialty fish bundle, then spent the rest of the day straggling away in the mines, just cracking on for more copper and iron. And while summer 24th was a terrible thunderstorm, it was the birthday for my ray of sunshine, Willie. I harvested our peppers and grabbed a diamond for my favorite fisherman. And look at him. Look how cheerful he is. He loves it. Sadly though, our day went downhill pretty fast as I had to see Clint to open up some more geodes. We didn't really get anything of interest, so we just hit the mines. We needed a lot of kegs, which in turn means a lot of tappers, which in turn means a lot of copper. So we'll be down here a lot. Willie gave us a chowder recipe and George asked us if we could bring him a hot pepper to rub on his knee. I guess it's better than throwing it at a mountain. Our melons were finally ready for harvest, and that means we had our 5 gold melons, finishing off the quality crops bundle. I was actually so chuffed about getting this done as this bundle always seems to trip me up. At Pierre's, I sold a few crops but kept the melons to turn them into wine later. During a trip to Clint's, we managed to get our first piece of iridium and we also donated this thing to Gunther. But Gunther gave us some pumpkin seeds in return for it, so it works out. And that reminded me I actually needed to craft a new autumn chest as soon we'll have to start prepping for the new season. Dude, I thought summer was meant to have, well, sun. We had a new batch of ripe blueberries, which I hope to turn into delicious blueberry wine later this year for the beginnings of our wine empire, which had its first bottle ready to go this morning. We dropped that off of the Enchanters bundle and sold a small amount of blurbs to Pierre before making a whopping 4 more kegs. Yeah, the wine empire grows. I threw our melons in the new kegs, but kept melon in my pocket for Demetrius' quest. Yeah, I decided I was gonna do it. And good thing I did, because he was very pleased with my melons. That night, we did some more fishing because somehow, even though we're coming to the end of summer, I was still strapped for cash. The morning summer heat was winding down and the cool breeze of autumn was moving in. So today was filled with our final chores before preparing for autumn. We harvested our hot peppers, picked our corn, pet our chickens, and sold our final crop harvest for the season. We also fished for some cash as I wanted a massive seed purchase for autumn, and we were building towards unlocking the Calico Desert Bus, meaning we needed 45,000 gold. So every tuna and tilapia helps, cause look at that money haul. Our final day of summer was an eventful one. The morning started with purchasing rhubarb pie for a certain military wife. Then at the community center, I purchased our first bundle in the vault, which ironically gave me 3 chocolate cakes, Jody's other loved gift. I then decided to take the risk and buy the next 2 vault bundles, giving us quality fertilizer and a lightning rod. We only then had the 25,000 gold bundle left, but I decided to not spend 90% of my cash when tomorrow we'd be buying a lot of crops. Instead, we hit the mines grabbing copper for our tappers, and before I knew it, it was time to see the moonlight jellies. I said hi to everyone in town before we let the lanterns drift off and watched as the jellies lit up the night sky. As the final summer breeze washed past me, I had time to reflect on the first half of our journey, thinking of all the friends we'd managed to make so far and just how much more we had to go. I even got a peek at a rare green jelly that I took as a good omen for the rest of the year. And with that, our summer came to an end. Oh, the beautiful breeze of fall. The air is chilly, the trees are orange, and my crops are completely dead. We have a lot of work to do. I cleared out my wilted fields before heading over to buy
buy my seasonal crops, purchasing 38 cranberries, 39 pumpkins, 20 eggplants, 27 fairy rose for Jazz, 27 amaranth for Alex, 27 yams for Linus, and speed grow. Since we had so many crops, I started on a new farm layout, crafting quality sprinklers. All the hard work in the mines was finally paying off. I only had enough quality sprinklers for 3 squares, which wasn't enough for all the gift seeds we wanted to plant. So we just planted the fairy rose, amaranth, and yams, working late into the night. But there was no time for sleeping in, as autumn 2nd is Penny's birthday. So I was off into town, where I ran into Lewis and Robin putting up a new board. Villagers could place big jobs they needed to get done on here, which sounds like a perfect opportunity for me. I found Penny teaching a class, gave her the poppy, and then dropped the final dwarf scroll off to Gunther. Now I can give the dwarf rocks and actually talk to him. Penny and I left the museum together and noticed George struggling to get his mail. Penny rushed over to help him, but in doing so, actually pushed George out of the way. George was pissed, and he had every right to be. But I know Penny is a bit of a crybaby, so I said she was, just trying to help out. George did thank Penny for helping out before heading back home, but I felt bad about not telling Penny that pushing him just actually wasn't okay. She also then dropped an existential bomb on me out of nowhere, and I just wasn't ready for that. So instead of thinking about how we're inevitably all gonna die, I went fishing for tiger trout, which we managed to catch, finishing the river bundle. Autumn 3rd, day 69, and it was pouring down. Marnie sent me a letter this morning asking for a bunch of amaranth before I decided the chickens needed more space. So I purchased our first chicken coop upgrade from Robin. While Robin got to work on the coop, I got to work on finishing off our fall chores for the community center, as we only had a few bundles left. So after leaving Robin's, I picked up a hazelnut, caught a walleye, and eel, and dropped them all off at the community center, completing 2 more bundles. Alright, I've got a quick game for us all, right? Somewhere in this image is Robin. Can you see her? No? Well, neither could I, because I accidentally gave her my fish roe this morning. I didn't have much planned for today, so I dropped some random items off at Gunther and got this cool skeleton man, which made a great Halloween decoration. While I was up here, I dropped some presents off and came back home to a nice surprise, as our batch of wine was finished. We sold off a few bottles and then put the rest aside for Harvey. On a stormy Friday, Robin finished up our brand spanking new chicken coop, and our singular eggplant had grown. The traveling cart didn't have anything of use for us today, and speaking of useless, it's Elliot's birthday today. But because Elliot has such exuberant tastes and our pomegranate tree hadn't grown yet, he gets nothing this year. I dropped the eggplant off at the community center, then made some more kegs before realizing I ran out of iron. So down to the mines we went again, finding ourselves a nice haul. On our way back home, I purchased some floor recipes from Robin because look at the state of our farm. Its ugliness had really started to bug me, and I figured that winter would be a good time to change that, so I had to start preparing. I would love to tell you what happened in the morning of day 72, but due to technical issues, my screen was frozen until like 9 a.m. But what I can tell you is I was heading down to Marnie's for something, and found Marnie standing over Shane passed out in his bedroom, surrounded by empty beer cans. Instead of calling on Harvey and getting some help, Marnie asked me to wake him up. She then scolded Shane and asked him to think about his future, and poor little Jas came in just to see what the ruckus was all about. And Shane, in an emotional outburst, said he hopes to not be around to see the future. Jas ran out crying, and Marnie went to comfort her, and Shane fell to his knees sobbing, and oh, I came here to purchase a duck. That's right, I called it Alan. And after that 9 a.m. emotional roller coaster, I needed a bit of a chiller day to calm the nerves. So I fished a lot, sold a lot, mined a lot, and in the midst of the night, yet another meteor landed on my farm. Genuinely, what is the chances of this? How does this keep keep happening. We picked our cranberries the next morning, then old Suki had some goodies as we purchased some very expensive fried calamari for Pierre and a lobster for Elliot. We sold all our cranberries and had enough money for the hardest community center room this run. I purchased the last vault bundle. The bundle gave us a crystallarium and I threw a diamond in there to grow, I guess. I also upgraded my axe and started sourcing up the farm. After a few minutes of looking online at inspiration, I placed down some rustic planks. I wanted this area outside the greenhouse to be some sort of like main farm area, and after a bit I had the basic layout of what my farm would look like, and yup, I hate it. But I don't hate the bus being back open. Thank you, little green gremlins. On 4 late, the goat was goaded and laid her first large brown egg. Then we harvested our amaranth before completing the animal bundle. Linus asked me to keep an eye out for his blackberry basket, which I found just past the bus stop. While I was there, I decided to hit the desert and arrived in an oasis, blessed by an abundance of coconuts for Haley and a store where a pretty lady greeted us, and I just realized I forgot the daffodils I collected for this very pretty lady. She didn't have any customers, so I purchased 10 coconuts from her, even though these things literally fall out of trees. I also caught a ton of sandfish out here because Penny apparently loves sandfish. We all have our poisons, I guess. And feeling confident from the big strides I had made, I thought I would do an impromptu dive into the skull cavern. I regret it, I regret it, I regret it. Get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. We finished off all the fishing bundles, giving us the dish of the sea, a personal favorite meal for Linus, whomst I dropped the blackberry basket off to, along with his favorite seafood meal, just so he really likes me. Overnight, the glistening boulder was removed, and we awoke to a letter from someone named our friend Mr. Key, who dared us to reach level 25 of the Skull Caverns, and after our last run, that's not gonna happen for a while. Lewis also let me know that the fair was on in a week's time, so I had to start getting a Grange display together. The rest of the amaranth for Alex's gift was finished, and we made our way to Pierre's to purchase 32 more pumpkin seeds. While I was in town, I picked up my axe from Clint and finally broke the log blocking the secret woods, where I found a talking statue that wanted the sweetest taste. I mean, Mr. Cannoli. Take me out to dinner first. We planted down our pumpkins with fertilizer before clearing out some stumps on the farm. Fall 10, day 75, and hey look, I'm back in the corner. This morning I went fishing for salmon as we just had one more ingredient to gather for Alex's salmon dinner. We needed the salmon. After a few catches, my chat recommended that instead of catching the 20+ salmon, I use a fish pond to create a salmon farm. I agreed before realizing we didn't have enough green algae to build the pond. My chat then recommended we go to level 60 in the mines, as apparently there's lots of green algae there, but my chat room's filled with liars and sinners as we only found white algae. Big day for moves today as it's Jodie's birthday. We had a batch of Harvey's wine ready, then made some eggplant wine, I guess? Is that a thing? Our yams for Linus were also ready, meaning we had all the gifts we needed for Linus, and he was checked off the list. After dropping a yam off at the community center, we were one pumpkin away from the greenhouse. We sold our crops, then popped in to give Jodie her birthday rhubarb pie. I also popped in to see Caroline to prove that if you give her gifts, she will flirt with you in her own household while her husband is home. The next morning, Jodie sent me a recipe for fried calamari, the last gift we needed to unlock. We had another profitable cranberry harvest, then made my way to Robin's, and on the way, ran into Willie overlooking a new hole in the side of the mountain. He told us the glittering boulder had randomly disappeared overnight, and said the stream that ran down from the mountain was filled with ores. So Willie taught me the ways of panning, and we had a new tool in our backpack. And that's where it will stay, as I never ever pan in this game. We finally purchased the fish pond, then dropped off a haul of gifts around town. In true Halloween spirit, the 13th of fall is Abigail's birthday, and we spent that day cutting down trees. Since I wanted a house upgrade, we needed 500 wood, and I was gonna clear out all of Cindersap to get it. By the time we finished, our first batch of cranberry wine was done, so we squirreled some away for Harvey and sold the rest. I realized realized I'd never given Marnie her amaranth, and on the way down to her, I ran into Abigail, who I gave an amethyst to. After I dropped off the amaranth to Marnie, I decided to stick around in the saloon for a drink with Shane, before busting out the Junimo cart for a few hours and then stumbling home that night. In the morning, a patch of pumpkins had grown, and even better, these ones weren't for Abby. They were for-profit pumpkins. Jazz's fairy rose was also ready, along with our fish pond, which we placed the salmon into. The pumpkins meant we finished the pantry room, giving us a beehive and unlocking the greenhouse. Down at Piers, I wanted to spend time with Abby since I didn't get the chance to on her birthday, and she was stuck on a level in Prairie King, and even though I hate that game, I helped her beat it because, well, who doesn't like playing games with a pretty old girl? Well, in the store, I purchased 69 pumpkin seeds, a single amaranth seed, and 32 bok choy, planting the pumpkins and ending the night at level 10 farming, choosing the artisan profession. Jody invited us over to dinner for the night of fall 15 and asked me to bring a largemouth bass. After brewing new wine, I was off to see Robin for a house upgrade. I walked in right as Demetrius and Robin were having a fight. Robin asked Demetrius to bring back some fruit from the store, and Demetrius brought back a tomato. Robin wasn't happy. Demetrius argued that a tomato was a fruit, so technically he was correct, and they both asked me what I thought. And even though Demetrius is technically correct and tomato is a fruit, vegetable is a culinary classification and not a scientific one, so therefore a tomato is a vegetable. Robin was happy I sided with her, so agreed to upgrade the house. I grabbed our largemouth bass that's been rotting in the chest since spring, and then visited Sandy and ran into Emily on the way back to the valley. It seems like they were having a girls' night. I then went to have dinner with Jody, and she said that the 3-month-old fish smelled great. So we threw it on the ground and gnawed it like rabid dogs. The Stardew Valley Fair is on today, and I completely forgot. So I spent the morning just scrounging together random junk from around the farm, then set up our Grange display, and it certainly wasn't the prettiest, but I was hoping it would do the job. While we waited, I hit the fishing games and just did a little bit of gamba where we won big, earning enough tokens to trade in for a star drop. Somehow I won the display contest and I had some tokens left over, so I purchased a prize ticket on the way out. During the night, I heard this massive crash and awoke to see a tree in Cindersap had fallen over due to high winds. I have no idea what this means. We harvested a huge batch of cranberries, fished for some of Alex's salmon, then dropped off some artifacts to Gunther's and realized I still needed 10 more artifacts before Gunther handed over the sewer key. On the way home, Abigail was gothing out in the cemetery and she asked me to save her a pumpkin this fall. Oh, don't worry, Abby, you'll have a lot coming your way. On fall 18, I magically awoke to my house being bigger. Shane sent me a pizza mail, which I kept for Samson, and then I had a massive haul of crops to bring in. After that, I started moving the quality sprinklers into the greenhouse. The apple tree and the pomegranate had begun bearing fruit, meaning I could finish the fodder bundle. I purchased some grapes for Vince before popping into the hospital and running into Maru preparing samples. I must have spooked her because she dropped the beaker she was using when I came in. I felt awful scaring her, so I took the heat for it and we told Harvey it was an accident. Maru really seemed to appreciate that. Honestly, I was only in there to drop a diamond off to Marnie for her birthday because for some reason, Marnie goes to the doctor's on her birthday. I finished off the fodder bundle, giving us a heater for the chickens, and we purchased the final backpack upgrade, then got Vince's grapes planted, along with the ancient seeds we had. And this may look like my screen just froze here, and that's because it did. But I'm pretty sure all we did was plan a new farm layout and make some extra salmon dinners for Alex. Caroline asked for a pumpkin for the Spirits Eve festival in the morning, so I popped over to hers to drop it off and found her in the tea room. She told me she came in here to escape away from the world and enjoyed a cup of tea. And when I sipped one, I have no idea what was in that tea, but I swear to God, I started seeing this little guy jumping around. Why does everyone in this town drug me? I thanked her for the tea and gave her the pumpkin, and then I swear, bro, I swear to God, she started hitting on me, saying her husband was fuming about the fare loss. She didn't look too upset about it. We fished for salmon, killed those salmon, and turned them into meals, then ended the day with another nighttime friendship run. Alex's salmon were really craving some maple seeds for some reason. I guess they were also in the autumn spirit. I had some lying around, and giving it to them increased the pond capacity to 4. I purchased a rabbit from Marnie, fittingly calling it Butcher, before dropping a daffodil off to my desert spring. I popped into Clint's, upgraded my pickaxe, then wanted to make some sashimi for Sebastian, but realized I needed 3 hearts with Linus to unlock the recipe. So instead, I dropped a yam off to Linus before dropping presents off to everyone I didn't get to see on Friday. The next morning, I smelled a smelly smell of something smelling smelly, because Linus sent us a recipe for sashimi. I headed to the saloon to purchase spaghetti for Robin, because who doesn't love a surprise birthday spaghetti? Then eventually caught all the salmon we needed for Alex, turning them into salmon dinner. With the leftover fish, I made 16 sashimi for Sebastian. And in preparation for our hopeful voyage to Ginger Island later this year, I also began collecting hardwood before dropping off more presents to Elliot, Emily, Pamela, Shane, and Clint. Gus was kind enough to start our morning with a vegetable medley, and our cranberries were kind enough to be ready for harvesting. And just in time for Spirit's Eve, Abigail's pumpkins were also big and juicy. In the haul, I realized we had 14 golden pumpkins, and we did not need that many for Abigail. Giving her 14 gold pumpkins would just be selfish when Krobus also loves pumpkins. At Piers, I noticed Elliot wanted some fire quartz, so I took him up on that offer. Then our new steel pickaxe was ready to be picked up from Clint's, and after planting more pumpkins, I tested that bad boy out. God damn it, it still doesn't work. In the middle of the night, I heard this strange cackle, and in the morning, I found this bizarre black egg sitting amongst the chickens. So I did what any sane farmer would do, and I incubated it. It was also a day of more pumpkins, as our pumpkin juice was brewed and ready, along with a new harvest of corn and cranberries. I went to dive into the skull caverns, and along the way, I popped in to see Sandy to drop off a daffodil before starting our excavation. The new steel pickaxe was a great help. We got some gold, some iron, a diamond, and lucky me, a rabbit's foot. On level 7, I picked up 2 fire quartz, so I headed back to Pelican Town to drop one off to Elliot and put the rabbit's foot in the community center. We spent the night off by organizing more of the farm, and in my sleep, I reached level 8 mining. A gloomy day for a gloomy man, as today is George's birthday. To help George ignore the knock of death on his front door, we gave him a gold quality leek. I hope it helps, George. I spent the rest of the day down at the skull caverns, managing to collect our first iridium bar and 7 diamonds for some reason, before I eventually got stuck on level 25 to a monster level. I hate slimes so much, bro. I couldn't think about what to do with 7 diamonds, so I sold 5 of them for a quick cash injection, which I probably didn't need to do, because holy shit, Mr. Key sent me 10,000 gold for reaching level 25 in the caverns. My god, I have a space-time sugar daddy. George also sent me a recipe for spicy eel. Not quite as good, but thanks, George. I'll take it, I guess. Also, the sweet gem berry we planted at the beginning of autumn had grown. So after a bit of smelting and chopping, we dropped the berry off to Master Cannoli, who gave us the wonderful gift of promiscuity. Back in town, I noticed Linus had put in a request to fish out 20 pieces of trash from the ocean. And being the tidy Kiwi I am, I accepted this. I was actually on the way to Clint's to upgrade my pickaxe for the... I fucking pressed the wrong one! I meant to do my pickaxe. Okay, so I reset the day, did pretty much everything again, and this time I upgraded my pickaxe at Clint's. I then purchased the big chest recipe from Robin for the first time ever, which I switched out for my mining chest. I popped into Pierre's and purchased, you guessed it, more pumpkin seeds, and spent the rest of the day fishing up trash for Linus's quest. On autumn 26, Butcher the rabbit shed his first foot, and grew another one back like the good boy he is. The traveling cart cart had a pale ale for us today, which I purchased for Pam. And while I was in the forest, I found Shane passed out by the cliffs. It was nothing short of a sad sight. He confided in me that he felt useless, powerless to take control of his own life and help himself. He told me he had started to come to these cliffs, thinking that this was the only way he could take control of his life, how he wanted to roll off the side of the edge. I told him simply the decision was his, but that I'm always here for him. That seemed to reach him, and he asked me to take him to the hospital. Harvey was kind enough to take him in and pump his stomach before letting me know he'll put Shane in contact with a counselor in Zuzu City. And somehow, I meant to just continue on with my day after that. Well, I did, as I sold all our goodies to Pierre and talk about bad timing, gave Pam her pale ale. Up in the mountains, I ran into Abigail playing her flute in the rain like a beautiful siren. She told me she likes to come out here to play and spend some time alone. We stood under the tree, watching the curtains of rain whispering above a silent lake, before I pulled out my harp and we played a duet together that echoed through the valley. Then I gave Linus his pile of trash. The next morning, Shane was on our doorstep, thanking me for looking out for him, letting me know he'd be going to therapy. I told him I was happy he's still here. And then we had a massive harvest today, collecting something like 70 pumpkins and 60 cranberries from this. I could also feel the air getting chiller, so I decided to prep for winter, moving our fruit trees and sprinklers into the greenhouse before harvesting Vince's grapes. While doing all these chores, we were interrupted by a train passing through the valley, and as I ran up to go check it out, I ran into Linus having an old natural bathe in the fresh, clear mountain water. Someone has to tell Linus that's our drinking supply. At the Spirits Eve festival, I was so brave and completed the maze all by myself. My favorite season was coming to an end, and we had the weather to match my somber mood. We had our last few stragglers of cranberries to harvest before grabbing our gold-plated pickaxe from Clint, who I had opened a mystery box for me, and inside were crab cakes, one of Elliot's loved gifts. Since we now had our upgraded pickaxe, I went back home to finally break open those meteors, which gave us 19 iridium and 4 omni geodes, before deciding, you know what, fuck it. I want more pumpkins. I purchased 20 more with speed grow and got those planted in our greenhouse. My void chicken had also come to life over the night, and so I named it Waluigi. And then, with that, I slept the rest of the night away, knowing the cold blanket of winter would be waiting for me the next morning. As winter moved into the valley, honestly, I was feeling lost. I didn't know what to do to begin the season. I made kegs, then stopped by the waterfall, which is actually so pretty. I then headed down to Willie's to buy an iridium rod and caught Lewis, inspecting fish. I also popped in to see Pam, but found Penny worried about the mess of the house. I decided to help her clean before Pam came home in a drunken rage. Penny confronted Pam about her, alcohol issue, calling her selfish, and Pam snapped, calling Penny ungrateful before asking me to leave. On the way out, I overheard Pam admitting that she was embarrassed at a stranger cleaning her house, and then to brighten the mood after that ordeal, I fished for Pierre's squid. I got one. The next morning, I got a letter from Penny apologizing for yesterday and a request from Willie wanting a squid. Sorry, Pierre. Willie comes first. The last batch of wine for Harvey was ready, meaning we had all the presents we needed for him. I cleared the ugly sprinkler layout, then at the bus, I swear, I saw this strange shadow man run away from me. I asked Pam if she saw anything, but she told me that she'd been seeing shadow people since the late 90s. I found a crocus, which meant we could finally finish off the craft rooms, and we now just needed the Nautilus shell to finish the community center. While I was at the community center though, I found that shadow man again, and he made a bolt for it, dropping a magnifying glass, which I can use to find secret notes. We started work on a new farm layout, and overnight the quarry bridge was repaired. On day 87, the beach still didn't have a Nautilus shell. Heartbreaking, I know. So I ran up to Linus, who sweetly told me I was his closest friend, and I gave him a gold quality yam for his birthday. I cleared out the quarry, getting a heap of stone, diamonds, coal, and iron, then got distracted and went to the quarry caves, grabbing the golden scythe. Also, what the hell are these things? They kicked my ass. I was So worn out from the random battle in the cave, I stopped at Linus's and we decided to, you know, chill together. We cuddled underneath the stars that night. Linus opened his heart to me about how I made him feel welcome, heard. He told me most people were scared of him, and it broke my heart. It didn't take long till we made our way into his tent, and I held Linus in my arms that night, and in a passionate embrace, we made wild bait together and nothing else. The next morning, I ran to Marnie's to purchase a heater for my cows and snuck into her room to grab Lewis's lucky purple shorts. You've got some big explaining to do, Marnie. Up at Robin's, I rearranged the farm buildings and found out you can now change the colors of the buildings. I just did not know that. I brought more recipes, then dropped the shorts off to Lewis. I know I could torment him, but I need him to like me. It's the point of the video. While chopping trees, I found a secret note, a lovely but strangely melancholy photo of Marnie and Jas from a few years ago. Also, why is this on my farm? I ended the night planning out the new area in front of my greenhouse, as I think this is where I want my kegs to go. The next morning, our pumpkins were ready to harvest, and so were the rest of Vince's grapes. We got the pumpkins in the kegs, then headed down to the beach where we got not one, but 2 Nautilus shells. That means we had done it. On day 89, we finished the community center. And to commemorate the accomplishment, I celebrated the best way I can, working. I gave my salmon some maple syrup, only to then abduct 3 of them to be killed and eaten. I crafted some stone pathways, placed down the skeleton of my farm layout, before heading down to the beach to catch Pierre his squid. I didn't catch a single one. The next morning, Lewis let me know everyone loved the gifts I had dropped off at the bulletin board, which amazingly got me more hearts with everyone in the valley. Clint then asked me to drop off an amethyst to Emily and say it was from him. Yeah, okay. Sure, Clint. In-town celebrations began for the reopening of the community center. However, our fun time was rudely interrupted by a very pissed off Morris. Like a 1920s bare buckle noxer, what? Like a 1920s bare knuckle boxer, Pierre gave him the old what and sent Morris blasting off again. After the celebrations, I ran off to find Emily, and when I arrived, Haley and her were having an argument over Haley not cleaning the couch. I told Haley, hey, just make it your one weekly chore. And while she liked that idea, Haley needed to cool off with some pickles. I love my strange wife. She couldn't get the jar open, so asked me to give it a go. I popped the lid right off, and Haley said I was stronger than I looked. I'll take it, I guess. Then, and I cannot explain this, I was in Emily's dream. Like, genuinely, I was there. Emily was just as confused as I was. There was a bunch of rainbows shooting around and shit. Emily said it was a sign, and then just like that, I was gone. After our shared hallucination, I gave Emily the amethyst, and while I did say I got it from Clint's, I didn't say it was from Clint. Emily was so happy, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, which isn't helpful because how am I meant to do the rest of my chores when I'm a puddle on the floor? After that, I placed lights on the farm, sold the pumpkin, then started on a tree farm. And the next morning, we got 7 recipes in the mail. None of them are useful. Willie sent us a letter, however, saying we should come by as he had something to show us in the back rooms. The traveling cart had 5 chocolate cakes for Jody today, and speaking of hot mums, it was Caroline's birthday today. On the way to see her, I ran into Jas, who told me she had a dream that her house was on fire. Terrifying. At Pierre's, I ran into Abigail and Caroline having a fight. Abigail said she felt that Caroline was being controlling, and Caroline used the classic, "We're letting you live under our roof for free" line. Abby explained that she's not going to dress how her parents want her to because, well, she's a grown-ass adult now. Caroline lovingly apologized, and I almost got caught eavesdropping. I gave Caroline her gold quality spangle and realized I had Pam to 10 hearts. When did that happen? After that realization, I went to Willie's back room, where sadly, he just showed me an old boat. We needed 200 pieces of hardwood, 5 iridium bars, and 5 battery packs to fix it up, and oh wow, would you look at that, we had all of that in our bag. Overnight, Willie and Robin fixed the boat, meaning we could now go to the Fern Islands. The next day, we literally just laid down some paths and did some winemaking. Then at the Winter of Ice, I saw everyone's cute outfits and, you know, won the fishing game. But on day 93, we made our first voyage as we sailed to Ginger Island. To my shock, I found a child on this island, but he wouldn't talk to me unless I gave his pet parrot a few golden walnuts. The boy didn't trust me, but he did trust the parrot. So I decided to befriend the parrot first. I found a few walnuts and then decided, you know what? I'm just gonna tank the volcano dungeons. We bulldozed our way through, collecting golden walnuts and making level 5 pretty quickly. But that was the easy part, as the next 5 levels are where there's magma sparklers, which in my opinion are the worst monsters in this game. By the skin of my teeth, I made it through the last few levels, and we made it to the top of the volcano, where we got our first prismatic shard and unlocked the forge. We'll be back for that. I set up camp for the night and got level 9 mining, which unlocks the crystallarium, and woke up to the fresh tropical breeze. I was already sick of sleeping in a tent, so I unlocked the farm side of the island after collecting some more golden walnuts. There, I met an old lady fishing. She told me she hadn't had any visitors in a long time, and from the stench on her, that was pretty obvious. She then let me know her husband was a pirate captain and that one day he never returned. She asked me to bring back a keepsake of his and then gave me an old photograph to start my journey. I ignored that and then headed back to the valley as it was time for a weapons upgrade. We traded the prismatic shard for the galaxy sword, and I also noticed it was Sebastian's birthday. So we put all that sashimi to use. When I arrived at his house, Robin gave me a flute box, and in Seb's room I caught him in the middle of work. I stuck around to hang out, but Robin interrupted us and told her son to go touch grass, even though it's like minus 12 degrees outside. Seb, obviously, wasn't happy about this, saying he felt like no one takes him seriously. He told me he wanted to make enough money to move out of the valley and to go live in Zuzu City one day, and that he felt more at home behind a computer than dealing with people, which is nice and all, Sebi, but I really want you to eat this raw fish. We moved outside so Seb could work on his motorcycle, and he told me he likes to take long rides out to look at the city after sunset. He even offered to take me on a ride one day, which sounds romantic. As I was leaving Seb's house, I found Linus digging for some berries. Robin walked out and got the shock of her life. Apparently, Robin had never met Linus before, somehow. She offered him some leftover cave carrot stew, but Linus said he had a great harvest, and then a thought came over me. What if I invited Linus to come live on the farm with me? I thought about it and realized, no, Linus is happy living the life he lives, and if you love something, you've got to let it go. Linus thanked me for never trying to fix him, and after all that, I went back to Ginger Island to upgrade my galaxy sword. I noticed someone was stuck in a cave, and I ignored it. I got bigger fish to fry right now, like getting more golden walnuts and unlocking the island farmhouse. Also, we got another witch visit that night, meaning we had another void chicken egg. After planting some taro roots down on the island, I found a gem bird hanging around my farm. It pooped out a topaz, which I returned to the gem bird gods. Back at the valley, I upgraded my barn and purchased seasonal plants to spruce up my house. Afterwards, I gave some attention to our animals who I've neglected over the last few days. The ancient fruit in our greenhouse had also grown, so we placed those in the seed makers to get some more. Then, later in the day, planted the ancient fruits that came out of it. We finished the day by running around doing chores I had put off and making some more furnaces. In the morning of winter 12th, I got a letter from Magnus asking for a void essence for shadow divination? I guess Sonic was out of the question. Our tree farm had grown overnight, so I placed tappers on that, as well as harvesting even more pumpkins that had grown. I realized the Squid Fest was also on, so decided to compete in that. We managed to catch a good haul here, including a dinosaur egg, mystery boxes, and 12 squid for Pierre's fried calamari. All that squid meant we took out the top spot of the day, and our prize was a book of crabbing, a pearl, coffee, bait, dish of the sea, and most importantly, a squid poster. The next morning, I ran into the wizard hanging out by the train station. He said he'd been waiting for me, which was more than unsettling, and told me he had once been married. He said he made a mistake that drove her away, and she became so green with envy that she literally turned green. Just like the mistake's hair color. He sealed the passage to her house to protect an innocent villager from falling prey to her, but now he couldn't unseal it. So asked me to grab him magic ink to open it up again. To do so, I needed to get the dark talisman. So I had to talk to Krobus. After that, I asked Robin to build me a shed, then dropped off the void essence to the wizard because he beamed away from me before I could bring it to him beforehand. Back in town, I ran into Lewis and Marnie and decided to do a little bit of eavesdropping. Lewis was telling Marnie something about how they can't do it because it would undermine his authority. Marnie was heartbroken. That's when she had reluctantly agreed that yes, they'll have to keep us a secret. They were a secret fling. I couldn't believe it and had to make myself known. Lewis begged me to keep it a secret, and if he wasn't so pathetic, I would have said no, but he was. So I told him I'll keep it to myself. It was the good doctor's birthday as we awoke on winter 14th, which was a great time to get some hearts up with Harvey, as he was lagging behind. Today, I wanted to do a big haul of goodies to donate to Gunther, as we still needed to unlock the sewers to meet Krobus, and the only way we can do that is by donating 60 items to the museum. We grabbed our goodies, learned to make chocolate cake, and made sure to grab some of the wine we made for Harvey. I dropped off his presents at work before donating a few items at the museum. That's when I realized the best news we've had this entire playthrough. My farm cat Ninja loves me, and I love him. I spend the rest of the day at Skull Caverns collecting ore, and along the way I got an immunity band, which I've never actually had before. We made it down to level 42, and also collected a bunch of secret notes while down there. The most important of which was from Mr. Key telling us to meet him in a cave. This was our haul from the caverns, not bad, and overnight Moo 2 gave birth to a baby cow. So everyone welcome Moo 3. The next morning, Gunther crawled out from his dingy museum hole to thank me for the donations, giving me a rusty key. Emily then visited, inviting me over to use her sewing machine whenever I wanted. With the rusty key, I went to the sewers where I finally got to meet Krobus. I gave him void mayo and he used it to lather on his skin. I no longer wish I met Krobus. But Krobus did open up a passage to get the dark talisman, which I retrieved in no time. After that, I opened the path to the witch's swamp and ran into Elliot, who wouldn't let me pass since it was private property. So instead, I started to work on Pierre's fried calamari. I decided to fish out all of Alex's salmon in the fish pond and replace them with squid. Then realized you can't put a different type of fish in a pond that's already been claimed. So I guess tomorrow we're making more fish ponds. I threw the salmon back and went to collect some more wood before then realizing I had deforested the entire valley. There wasn't a single tree left over in Cindersap or the mountains. How did I manage this? In a moment of desperation, I made a hectic fuck ton of tree fertilizer using up all our stone, which is fine until it wasn't fine, because on winter 16 I woke up and realized I needed 200 stone to build the fish pond. I'm such an idiot. While wallowing in my own stupidity, I hauled ass in the mines, collecting the 200 stone we needed by 12 PM, then made our way down to Robin's and purchased the squid fish pond. Since we had fixed our stone problem, I now had to move on to our next problem, wood. I didn't have any blue pills with me, so I started a pine forest in the bottom corner of the farm using fertilizer, then noticed the new shed was built. So the next day I started moving all of our chests into the shed, and I organized each chest by season, even though I thought about making one chest per villager, but I'm not even sure we have enough colors for that. After that, I gave Magnus a birthday mushroom, and back home I created a patio for my shed where I'll place furnaces. Then, as night fell, I decided to stop by the night market to drop off some gifts. While there, I purchased even more pumpkin seeds, and to finish the night, I got trippy with some cute mermaid ladies and got this pearl from doing solving a puzzle. Also, we made some bank from the pumpkin juice. Look at that money. On winter 18, I found out my secret friend for the Feast of the Winter Star was Emily. Easy enough, because this girl loves rocks. I finally put the squid in the fish pond, and after all that work, it probably would have just been faster catching the squid. After a bit of farm work, I dropped presents off to Harvey and Seb, who made me play Silurian Chronicles with him, then brought Sam a pizza at the saloon. I ended the day just by gathering materials in the Skull Cavern, and down there, I don't know, I started to feel a little lonely. So I headed back home, rethought my life, and decided to do something about it. I gave myself the goal of having a partner by the end of the year, and right now I had my eyes on 2 targets, Emily or Sebastian. I did still want to make progress on my farm, of course, so in winter 19 I visited my chickens, and what? We have a void chicken now! I named it Megatron, and wait, fuck, what the hell? When was the last time I checked on my animals? Okay, well, we had a lot of eggs now, and I could finally get that dinosaur in the incubator. I gave presents to Emily and Sebastian, then went off to Ginger Island. I cleared out the farm, and by God, I could just feel the pride of my English ancestors swell up inside of me as they watched me sail to this distant land just to steal all of its resources. Winter 20 was Evelyn's birthday, but first, I needed to visit that bird child. He had warmed up to me and told me a story of how he ended up here. While crossing the ocean with his family, there was a big old storm, crashing his boats where his parents were taken by the sea and he washed up here. It all seemed to be a bit too much for him, however, as he quickly backtracked and claimed he was born on the island. On the way out, he told me his name was Leo. I had a dive into the volcano today as well, where I collected the final golden walnuts I needed to unlock the river area. Doing all this, I had lost track of time and forgotten the most important thing on my mind, Evelyn. I raced back to the boat, but by the time I got to the farm, grabbed the present, then went into town, it was too late. Evelyn had gone to bed. I cried myself to sleep that night, and the next morning, I awoke from my tear-soaked pillow to find some ink from our squids, which is one of Elliot's favorite gifts. We also got a recipe for pumpkin pie, which is Marnie's favorite, and at Clint, I broke open some geodes where I got a prismatic shard. Feeling awful for missing her birthday, I went to visit Evelyn to make sure she wasn't mad at me. A grandma never forgets, you know. I found her all wrapped up in front of the oven in full babushka mode, making cookies. She taught me to make cookies, and in return I gave her a tulip. Then I dropped off gifts to Emily and Sebastian, and actually almost every single villager in town except Kent, because we now have gifts for everyone except Kent and Leo. After that, I went to chopping down our newly grown forest and passed out at 2 a.m. for the first time. Seriously, this is the first time. Go back and rewatch. The next morning in town, I found Alex looking over his dog, Dusty. He seemed to be talking to his dog, and I couldn't help but listen. I heard him say that Dusty was the only one in the valley he could trust, and that only he had seen what Alex had seen. I'd made myself known to Alex and told him I'd heard everything. Alex asked me if I ever wondered why he lived with his grandparents. See, he said his father was a bad guy, and that he had ruined everything for him and his mum. He was a drunk who was either never around or at the end of a bottle screaming at Alex that he was worthless. And then one day, his dad just left. Soon after, Alex's mother passed away, and Alex had no choice but to live with his grandparents. Alex let me know he doesn't tell people that usually, but he trusted me. Then he gave Dusty a big old steak, and what the fuck is wrong with that dog's voice? God. After dropping gifts off to Haley, Seb, Emily, Caroline, and George, I walked in on George struggling at his bookshelf, obviously frustrated from his chair. I grabbed the book for him, and George told me about the accident that led to him being in a wheelchair. He had worked in the coal mines, and when going to set off dynamite, his foot slipped. He dropped the dynamite, which exploded at his legs on impact. He says the next thing he remembered was waking up in hospital, being told he'd never walk again. He told me that when you get old, you forget that people actually actually care, but he appreciated that I was around. He then had a checkup with Harvey, and George wouldn't take his advice, and I told George, listen bro, stop being a dick and listen to the health professionals, which Harvey appreciated. Up at Robin's, I purchased 200 pieces of stone because I couldn't be asked mining, and with all that stone, I upgraded the barn. I ended the night, however, going to the caves collecting copper because I'll be done with my money for Robin, but Clint's not getting a cent out of me. The next morning, I visited Leah with a fresh birthday salad. I interrupted her. She was working on a brand new wooden sculpture.
Wait, I'm sorry. My mouth was full of food. Has this always been an option? I don't think I should do that. I'm just going to say it's the same with people. What the hell is that concerned, Abe?
I don't think she quite understood my genius, but that's fine. She said she used to come to Stardew Valley as a child, so she had always been drawn to it as an artist, but confided in me that she'd been struggling to make money as one. I suggested that she run an art show in town, and she said she'd love to turn Pelican Town into an art destination, but was worried people would hate her work. I let her get back to her work, but gave her a salad as a parting gift, which she loved. I then dropped off this human femur bone to Gunther, don't ask where I got it, who gave me a giant sloth skeleton in return. Don't ask where he got it. In town, I then ran into Abigail chilling at the graveyard. She told me she likes to come down here for privacy and to practice her swordsmanship. She wanted to explore the mines, but wanted to be able to protect herself first, and asked if I had swung a sword before, and I said, yeah, of course I have, it's fucking awesome. That made her happy. She said she dreamed of going on an adventure. Then, out of nowhere, waltzed Pierre, who told Abby to come back home to help her mother with dinner. Abby called his misogynistic ass out, and Abby and I went somewhere a little more, private. We hid in a bush before going our separate ways for the night. The next morning, Leah greeted us at our door, dropping off a statue that she made for us called How I Feel About Nino. Now, I'm not sure what that means from looking at it, but if a woman comes to you at your door at 6 a.m. to drop off a piece of art she named after you, do you think she was hitting on me? After dropping off a few gifts, I ran into Marnie's where I overheard Marnie and Shane talking. Shane seemed to be in great spirits when Marnie made the most out-of-pocket, insane comment about Shane's alcoholism. Like, Jesus, Marnie, who says that? It didn't seem to bother Shane too much, and he said he'd switched beer out for sparkling water, and that he loved having friends who cared for him. He then went over and gave Jazz a brand new present, a new pair of bunny jewel slippers that he got from saving money on alcohol. After that, Lois came over to make sure all of Marnie's business needs were taken care of. Yeah, I bet you're taking care of Marnie's business needs, you old dog, Lois. The last few days have been stacked with drama, and you bet it didn't stop there, as I walked in on Leah hanging up a heated phone call with her ex-boyfriend Cal. Leah said they used to have an apartment together back in Zuzu City, but Cal never supported Leah's art career, so she moved to Pelican Town to pursue, well, being an artist. She asked if that was selfish, and I told her it had to be done for her own happiness. She also told me her sculptures for the art show were coming along, and that she was excited to make Pelican Town a premier art spot. With that, we were back on track. Oh my god, how is there another one? Going back into town, I ran into Shane shooting a Joja Blue commercial with Clint and Emily for some competition. Emily looked beautiful in her winter outfit with the snowflakes falling down. So beautiful that Clint fumbled his line. I got to walk in the background of the shop until they got it right, and Clint finally nailed it, sculled back a can of Joja Blue. I think he then had like, I don't know, a cardiac arrest or something. I was just distracted by how good Emily looked. I even got to give a gift to Jazz, who showed off her new bunny slippers from her uncle. How cute is that? And so we spent the eve of Winterstar giving gifts to the villagers of Stardew Valley before spending the night blissfully dreaming of Father Christmas. And a happy Winterstar to you all. There was only one present I wanted this Winterstar, however, and it was to make Emily my girlfriend. And since she also happened to be my secret Santa, it was gonna work out nicely. I gifted Emily her aquamarine in front of the Winterstar tree, and she loved it, I think. Evelyn was my secret Santa, and she gave me a fresh batch of cookies
Thanks, Nana. After the festivities and celebrations, I had finally got Emily to 8 hearts. So tomorrow, she'll be our girlfriend. And by the grace of Yoba, the day we make Emily our girlfriend was Clint's birthday. I love this series, man. And if things couldn't get better, our last batch of pumpkin juice was ready just before the end of the year. At Pierre's, I purchased a beautiful bouquet, then stopped to check my hearts and oh my god, I have 8 hearts with Sebastian too. So I purchased not 1, but 2 bouquets. On the way out, I just happened to run into Clint, so I offered him his Omni Geode, and he told me he doesn't get many birthday presents, so I laughed in his face and went on my way to steal his girl. I gave Emily the bouquet, and she beamed at me with a massive smile on her face. After 98 days, I had done it. I finally had a girlfriend. But the fun didn't stop there, as I gave Sebastian the second bouquet. Now, I had 2 girlfriends. On my way to Willie's, I ran into Sam skateboarding. Lewis caught him and chewed him out for skating on someone else's property and asked me what he thought, and honestly, I just stayed out of it, which Sam didn't really appreciate. Over at Ginger Island, I finally opened the cave, rescuing one Dr. Snail, who asked me to find any fossils on the island for a reward. I also filled out his island survey, which I totally counted and didn't just remember from my One Stranded on Ginger Island series, which I totally recommend you go watch after this video. We found another gemstone from the Rainbird before heading home to make Pierre's calamari. On the penultimate day of our first year, I decided to knock out some of the final chores that I hadn't wrapped up yet. I picked pumpkins, smashed geodes, donated to the museum, found golden walnuts, collected fossils that went into the volcano dungeons, where I found the bat fossil and was then murdered in cold blood by a tiger slime of all things. Willie found me passed out in the dungeons and claimed that magically $12,000 just disappeared from my pocket, along with the mummified bat. Who could have taken it, Willie? The limbless slimes? After that disastrous day, I called it quits and went home. But to top it off, I realized I forgot everything I collected at the island farm. The sun was starting to peek through the clouds, the snow was melting, and birds were chirping as it was the final day of winter, and therefore the final day of the year. I didn't treat this day any differently, really. If anything, I took it easier. I chopped some trees, then grabbed a secret note, which reminded me I needed to check a bush by the playground at 12 p.m. sharp. I got to the playground a couple of hours early, so just had some fun on the swing, and at 12 o'clock sharp, I checked the bush and got a giant Junimo plushie. I left it in the classrooms as I thought it was fitting there, and popped in to say hi to my beautiful girlfriend. Learned to make cranberry candy, which Vince loves, picked up everything I had left on the island farm, donated a fossil, gave some gifts, then spent my final moments of the year sat by the ocean, watching the final snowflakes hit the water. I reflected on the past 112 days and honestly thought we had done well. Sure, we started slow, but as time got on, we fell into a nice groove. We helped Shane fight his internal battles for a better future, not just for himself, but for those around him too. We pushed Leah to put herself out there, watched Abigail grow confident in her own independence, became great friends with Linus, Pam, and Caroline, fell in love not once but twice, and was on the way to have a valley of friends. It's not over though, as we still had a lot of people to win over and a lot of storylines to wrap up. So as I closed my eyes for a final time this year, I dreamt of what the next year had for us. Thank you so much for watching my first 100 Day series. If you did enjoy it, why not subscribe so you can be here for the next one? Thank you to Ava the editor for helping me with this. I couldn't do it without him. And most importantly, sorry Clint.